Welcome to A Friend of Mine, a series of conversations with some incredible and inspiring women in business from regional and rural Australia. I'm Kimberly Finesse, your host and the founder and editor of Oak Magazine, and I cannot wait to introduce you to some amazing female entrepreneurs who will share with you their experience and knowledge of what it takes to start, grow and scale a successful business. So let me introduce you to a friend of mine. For as long as she can remember, Michelle Cail has always had a camera in hand. Michelle's business, Gingerhouse Photography, was born at a time when her life was becoming more and more enriched with moments and milestones that needed to be captured. When Michelle followed her passion and stepped into her business full-time, not everything went to plan. Bookings slowed down and doubt crept in. But Michelle found a way to stay motivated through creativity and built an engaged audience which led to new bookings. Her business has now expanded from newborns and weddings to business, personal branding and a variety of workshops. Michelle has also played a pivotal role in the success of Oak Magazine, having shot forefront covers and numerous feature stories and advertorials. Michelle shares with us her startup story, collaborations, photography tips, and why it's important to speak positively about our bodies in front of our children. Meet my friend Michelle from Gingerhouse Photography. Welcome, Michelle, and thank you for being today's podcast guest.
Hi, Kimberly. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually an extra level of excited today because it would be the first time in, say, 8 to 9 weeks that I've had someone over that's, from outside my bubble, and probably about the same time that we've seen each other too. So this is probably the longest that we've gone without seeing each other.
I know, it was very good to catch up with you today. I even got out of activewear today and dressed up, so that was quite exciting.
I clean the house. Isn't that what you do? You clean the house before someone comes over.
Yep.
All righty. Well, I wanted to invite you onto the podcast because you are a friend of mine and you have played such a big role in Oak Magazine, whether you realise that or not. Maybe I don't tell you enough. But I want to take it back to the start. Well, most of our kids went to school together until I moved off school. Sorry about that. But we used to, meet up in the school car park during pickup and just chat. I think we were always the last to leave. We'd just talk business, wouldn't we?
Certainly were. It's a little bit different these days when there's no one to chat to.
I know. It is something that I really miss. I haven't found a replacement. So
me neither.
But look, I can still remember obviously launching Oak Magazine. It really happened quickly. It was a 6-week project and 2 of those weeks were printing. So really a 4-week project. And I can remember thinking, I've got to shoot the front cover. I had a camera. I had it on auto. I just thought that was enough. And then I thought, hang on, photographers use flashes. I need a flash. So I remember coming up to you in the car park and saying, do you have a flash that I could lend? And you asked why. And I said, I have to take a front cover photo for a magazine. I don't think I'd even passed the magazine past you.
No. First I'd heard of it.
It had happened so quickly. So can you remember back to that moment?
Yep. I remember we're standing at the back of the cars for some reason. And and just as you were saying what you wanted to do and I was explaining how the flash would work, I was looking at your face and you were sort of starting to look a little like, I'm not so sure about this. So, and I kind of went, I wouldn't mind doing that myself. So put it out there. Ever so grateful that I did. So it's been a wonderful journey. So
it has. Do you know what? I think on my phone I still have some behind the scenes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, photos and boomerangs and all that from that actual photo shoot.
Yeah.
So that was the first time that we worked together professionally. And we've gone on to then shoot 4 of the 7 covers of Oak together. And the only reason you didn't shoot the other 3 were they were sort of outside Bendigo as such. And you've shot for every issue. And I just get so many comments on the photography. So that is what people come and say, oh my God, beautiful images. And I just look back now, I think, oh, thank God. Like, can you imagine what Oak would have been without those glossy, well-styled, well-lit photos of these amazing women. What they would have looked like if I had just point and shoot and hope the flash was shooting off in the right direction. So I am forever grateful. And I've absolutely loved our business journey over the last, what would it be, like 3.5 years almost?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah, has it been that long?
Yeah,
Wow.
3 to 4. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I think we've both grown through our skill set, and we have gone on to collaborate on so many projects that's why I wanted to bring you on as well, so that we can talk about how we've worked together, and maybe that might help other people, find a friend in business.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So what drew you to photography? Why did you pick up a camera?
I pretty much always had a camera in my hand from young teenage years. I picked it as one of my electives at high school, and had a really supportive teacher, but I had 2 grandparents on either side that had an interest in photography and cameras. So my grandfather was a bird photographer, so we used to watch slides of his birds and their trips away and stuff like that. And my grandma used to have a camera that was my uncle's, but he never used it. So I would, and they lived around the corner, so I would always be borrowing it at Christmas time and stuff, and would be taking photos of family and just things that were happening at the time. So, I think through my year 11 and 12 assignments at school with photography, my teacher was like, "You really just like to get in down there, don't you? And get in close to the photos, and you like the light and all those sorts of things." And she was so encouraging. So I think it just evolved from there. But for me, I've always loved art, and I do love to draw and I do love to paint. But photography was an instant thing that occurred. Like, you would take the photograph and you'd have to process it, admittedly, but half the work was done for you. So for me, I really enjoyed that instant snap. It was captured, and that it was there for you. So yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Now, you mentioned birds.
Yes.
We've gone on so many trips together. And I'll have to tell our listeners. So we were together in Mildura walking down the street. Actually, we were trying to walk off the amount of alcohol.
Oh, it wasn't that much alcohol. It was just a really hot day.
Oh my gosh, it was like a 40-degree day. We'd been shooting all day, went and had tea, had a few. Well, the lady just kept filling it up. And it wasn't until we stood up and we're like, wow, we can't drive.
No.
So, here we are in Mildura, just walking the streets, walking off that alcohol. And I'm walking along and, talking away, look to the side, no Michelle. And there she is behind me picking up a bird feather. And this is not the first time that you've stopped to pick up bird feathers. But what is it about bird feathers that you absolutely love?
Wow. I think it's my grandfather, but I have always collected feathers. I collect sticks and stones and lots of other little things that take my interest, flowers and whatever. I don't often go for a walk without coming home with something in my hand. The house is decorated. I have bowls with things in them and stuff. But ever since my grandfather passed away, if I see a feather now, it's him. He's with me. So it's quite symbolic at the moment. But I don't know what it ever was about a feather. They're just so beautiful and carefree and light, and they make you smile when you see them. So
just little memories littered all over your house, really.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is.
I still have that feather too, Kimberly.
Oh, there you go. And look, even our road trips together, I'm very much I need to get to point A and B. And you, Michelle, look, there's a beautiful tree. We'll stop and take a photo. And what should be a 5-hour trip from Bendigo to Mildura turns out to be hours.
I've learnt just to sit in the car and admire. I'll get that another day.
Oh, we're all so different, aren't we? Yep. So what gave you the confidence then to leap into photography full time?
Yeah. Well, just jumping a little back to high school, have always done it. So even when I went off and studied and worked in other areas, I was still running off and doing some weddings on some weekends, still photographing, always when we went on holidays, photographing, that's just what I did. But for most of my kids' younger years, I did work for someone else for 6 years on a part-time basis and still managed to photograph and work during that time. But it was sort of more just a little bit of money, a little bit of an interest and stuff like that. But got to the point in my job that I just was at my job and I was thinking about my business and just wanted to be home in my business taking photos. My work was increasing that I didn't have enough time to edit. I was finding it really difficult to get my work done, and jobs were getting drawn out for a long period of time. So, I just found that my mind was shifting from I don't want to be in this job that's a regular wage. I can walk in and clock off, and my mind was free at the end of the day, which was one of the reasons I enjoyed it, to wanting to move my business to the next level. So I took the leap, and it wasn't all easy at the start. I actually resigned from my job, and all of a sudden things just went quiet and I didn't have any work coming in. So I did think for quite a while, what the hell have I done? But it wasn't long before things turned around. And looking back on it, I resigned from my job in the middle of winter. It wasn't portrait season. So not a great idea, but I walked in one day and said, "That's it. I'm going. I'm giving notice today," and off I went. So during that time, I just did lots of little things to keep myself motivated. I shot for myself. I did little Monday mood lifters to keep myself motivated and keep my feed going. And eventually, the work just kept coming back in, and it's increased that much now that I can be at home full time doing it.
Oh wow! It must have been hard at that time when no work's coming in. I mean, there must have been some doubt that sort of starts to creep in as you mentioned. So, I mean, there's a bit of resilience in you then, Michelle, to say, no, this is going to work.
Yeah.
And that self-motivation to keep going.
Yeah, I can be very determined and stubborn when it's something that I'm really quite passionate about. And for me, it's not just taking photos. I actually feel the whole thing, and when I feel something, then it's just the right way to go with that. And so and even now, sometimes when things are difficult, you kind of go, well, what else would I do? I don't feel that my heart is in anywhere else. So I keep coming back to being creative and doing photography, and I really do enjoy it. And I'm working with a lot more people now that coincide with that side of me, so it's really enjoyable. But you just have to set your mind straight that this is what I want to do, and just keep going at it. Yeah.
Wow. And you sort of mentioned just then about being more in line with those that you're working with, so sort of on the same energy level or the same interests.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's at a point, like in the beginning, we probably do say yes to any job that comes in.
Yeah.
And as creatives, I've sort of mentioned on other podcasts, you do need to feel it sometimes, a connection. But obviously that eventually happened to you, and you found that really nice sweet spot now.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I do. And even on a shoot, most people will know that they may have thought the session was over, but I just have to have that shot where I go, that's it. That's the moment. Like that's the way I work. Yeah. I feel like it would be an injustice to someone if you don't get that for them.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And that is something that I absolutely love about working with you, whether it's in a collaborative effort, so we're shooting someone else, or whether it's you shooting me, which doesn't happen too often. I think we were just talking that I've got a 2017 headshot, which I'm wrapped with. I'm happy to look 2017 Kimberly instead of 2020 Kimberly. But you just take so much time in posing and angles and making us feel comfortable and look great at the end of the day. That's what I really appreciate, and I know that your clients would as well.
Thank you. It's really tricky because a lot of people, when they talk to you about what they want, they just want to look natural. They just want natural shots. They don't want those boring business headshots where it's all, stiff and stuff like that. But there's also the fine line that you really need to take care of how somebody looks and bring the best out in a person. And I spend a lot of time working with people too, that you can get a connection all the way through their body and their eyes. Like you can have someone smile, but if their eyes aren't smiling, then I feel like that photo is not connecting with their audience. So I work really hard at that.
Yep. So if you have someone that isn't sort of smiling with their eyes, what do you do to relax them?
Well, usually I'm the butt of the joke, so I usually turn it around on myself, and I just chat. I'm a big talker. I've worked with a friend before that she made comment at the end of the wedding, "Geez, you talk a lot, don't you?" But I find that conversation will make people relax, and it takes the attention off them. So, and you just have to find something that ignites them, and that's what the conversation is about. And I'm watching those people while I'm doing it, and I can see what makes their eyes sparkle, what gains their interest, and even sometimes we just have to joke and have a good old laugh to to get that. And I even say to someone, I will show them the back of the camera and I say, look, this is a beautiful smile, but this is what we're looking for, where your eyes are glistening and lighting up, and you're relating to the audience that are going to be looking at those photos. So yeah.
How often do you have someone come to you and say, oh my gosh, like, don't get my 5 chins, or don't shoot my arms, they're just they're not the best side of me? Do you know what I mean? Like, all the time.
That generally the first conversation that I have with people, especially in a setting where I'm meeting them quite spontaneously. So say if I'm covering guests at a wedding or something like that, the first thing they say is, are you good at Photoshop? Or don't get me like that. Or I hate my chin. I hate my nose. I hate having photos taken. I hate my teeth. It's so sad to hear everyone greet you with such negative, horrible thoughts about themselves. So that's why I work really hard to show them a picture that they will love. And, you don't have to point things out to anyone. You just work it around and just keep things moving until you get what you want. And when you've got that photo, you turn it around and show them, and then it installs that confidence that they look good. So.
Yeah, and I've seen people light up when they've seen a photo that you've taken, whether that's in the mag or on the back of the camera, and they're like, oh, wow. It's just that sudden realization that, those 3 chins actually aren't there. Look how beautiful you are. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I wish we do need to work more on our self-confidence. And we've both got daughters. You've got 3 daughters and I have 2. And I suppose that's something that we both need to probably work on ourselves to instill in them, don't we?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. The way you talk about yourself and your appearances are genetic to your children as well. So if you start talking about how much you hate your nose, and your children have noses like that as well, then they start to hate their noses, and your children are beautiful. So we shouldn't be installing any of those thoughts in our children because of our own hang-ups. So it's very important to think about the way you speak about yourself, because your children often do look like you too. So just be careful about that.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, Michelle. So, I will definitely make more of an effort to talk positively about myself around them.
Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to ourselves first. I know that be kind is just a huge movement in itself, but do you know what? Be kind to yourself first. I think when you do that, it radiates out into everything else you do. Now, we've talked about a few sort of hurdles you've had in business. So I think a big problem also, not only with photographers, but say small business owners, is pricing.
Yes.
Would you say that's been one of the hardest things for you to nail in your business?
Pricing yourself is really, really difficult. Yeah, it's just something I always struggle with. I think it's something that actually holds me back from changing my pricing at times as well. And undervaluing yourself is a big hurdle too. On the top of my list of spending money to improve my business would be one in perhaps finding someone that can help work on that area more. Yeah. I've always find it very hard to set pricing, and still to this day, even been in the business for a long time. So,
yeah, I'd agree. That's one of the things that I struggled with in my other business was pricing myself right. And it's not that we don't value what we do, is it?
No, it's that. And sometimes you don't know where to start with something. And after a while, you might set a price on some personal branding photo or something like that. But after a while, after doing a couple of sessions, you'll say, the value for that needs to change because, that's how I'm finding things work now. It's by setting a price and running with it for a little while. And then you can see after a while that needs to change. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of time as a photographer that you spend. So it's not just on the shoot. So it's not just the time that you and I might have together on that actual photo shoot. There's some time beforehand. You might go and scope out a location for us and get the lighting right. There might be some more conversations around what we're wearing, what the story is that we're trying to tell. And then there's the editing.
Yeah, the editing. The editing, there's a love-hate relationship with the editing. Sometimes it's nice on a cold winter day to be, snuggled up in your office with some music going and your hot cuppa and stuff like that, and it's really nice. And then other days when things just aren't working the way you think they should be, it can be really quite destructive because you just lose your train of thought and your process and the flow, and then you just start to feel not so great about the session. But I think the best thing to do then is just take a break and come back to it with some fresh eyes. But I spend a lot of time sitting at the computer editing.
We spend far too much time sitting full stop, I think, as just as a generation.
Yes.
But yeah, I suppose the point I was getting to, there's just so much more than click and shoot, like to turn up to a location and just shoot it. And I know that you've worked hard with me to understand that more in that, you know, we don't just go to a shoot and I just say, oh, just take them here and
exactly.
photograph them.
It's
you like to know the story.
Yeah, I do. I like to know the story. And a lot of people go, I want that building in the shot because that's pivotal for the story and so forth. But when we arrive, the lighting's not right for that shot, so you have to think of something else. And the lighting's very important. It's the key thing. So in the photographs, and there's a lot to consider in. And also in different things with doing a lot of photos for people's websites now is there's a lot of consideration go into how those photos are shot. You know, if they're going to be a header photo, you need to have room around the shots. So a lot of time goes into a lot of pre-planning now and asking lots of the right questions to get it right for the client.
100%. Now, highs. What have you loved about being a photographer and business owner?
Yes. The highs are that I get to work for myself and manage my time and so things like that. But I've also have just met some most amazing people by photographing them and working for people as well. I love meeting people. I really enjoy hearing their stories. When I work with you, I get to listen to the stories while you're interviewing. So I then help put that together with the photos. So because I've heard the story and I really, really enjoy that. I just, it takes the storytelling of the photo further, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we have sat in on interviews together. So generally we'll go together on a shoot. I'll do the interview first. We've found that works best to warm up
they relax.
person. Yeah, they relax. They feel comfortable. But what I've noticed as well is that you ask different questions to what I do. And I just feel that we just get a little bit more of a rounded story. So I love it when you come because there's been some days that I have not been on my game. I've got other things going on. And I think we've got to a stage where you know that and you pick up and off you go. And I'm like, oh, thank God, Michelle.
Glad I could help out.
It's I'm very appreciative of that, definitely. Now, we're talking about light and we've actually collaborated together a lot and not just on Oak. It started with that front cover photo, but then it's gone into, collaborations like workshops.
Yes.
So I've got the social media business in Right Style Communications. You've got your photography. We brought those two together and developed a flat lay workshop with a social media component. We've then gone and done workshops for government organisations and rolled it out there. But with those flat lay ones, and you're talking about lighting, like I've learnt so much about lighting and then how to pick the right light and how important it is to have natural light coming in than your overhead. So, I mean, it's hard on a podcast, but is there a couple of tips that we could give our listeners, do you think, on lighting? Like what would make a good photo if they're just doing it at home?
Yeah. For a flat lay or even a still life photo, the best kind of lighting that you should look for is nice, warm lighting. So if you're in a house that's sort of north or east facing, the light will be warmer coming through your windows there than a south window. So you would want to look for that kind of light, but you would also not want to be in the full bright light. You need to move into the ambient light. So that's the best light to look for. You can do you can put filters over things and do 100 loads of editing on a photo afterwards, but if you can put it in the right light to start with and try and get it through correct through your phone or your camera the first time, you'll have less editing that you have to do. And that's the way I work with my camera anyway. I like to get things as close to how I want it through camera so that when you show your client there, you're on a job, you can turn the camera around, they can see exactly what they're envisioning there rather than me trying to convince them that this is going to work when I've done all my massive amount of editing afterwards. So so that would be warm lights, great light, especially if you're using whites. That has that nice warmth to it rather than a cold, unapproachable feeling.
And switch those overheads off?
Definitely, because they create shadows and they create a wrong colour cast on your pictures too.
And a great app that we've both found for our phones. Now, Michelle, you are an Android.
I am an Android and proud to be.
And I'm an Apple. And I think this works great for our workshops because we both have different skill sets because those phones are so different to use. Yeah, yours is just all backwards to me.
I love mine.
And I was just thinking, like, one of the apps that we both use is Snapseed.
Yeah.
It's a free app, so download Snapseed, and just using a couple of the features on there. I think it's the
contrast.
curves.
The curves.
And the dropper tool.
Yep.
Generally. I think it's got the plus minus on it.
Yep, that's for your temperature, your colour balance.
I mean, just even those two little, I suppose, applications within that app just make a huge difference. So that's one that I really love to use, that I've found. And also one thing that I've picked up from working with you on the flat lay is just heading to Kmart and buying those A3
foam boards.
Yeah, foam boards.
White foam boards or black foam boards. So white foam boards will reflect light. So if you find you've got some deep shadows that you don't like, you can just make a V with 2 foam boards put together and you can bounce some light back into your image. Or if you like things to be a little bit more moodier and shadowier, you can use 2 black V foam boards taped together to make a V. They stand up by themselves and they can absorb the light. So,
yeah. And what I love is that we both have strengths that we can bring to those workshops.
You had the platform to run a workshop. You could put it online. You could people could pay through your system. I had none of that. Like if I wanted to run a workshop, I could almost probably print off a DL flyer and pop it in your mailbox. I'm that so old school. So Kimberly brought the tech side to it all, which was amazing. And I just brought the visuals. I brought the creative side into it. Yeah. And we do work really well together. We complement each other. So you have that side. You've got the words. You
have the images.
Yeah. And you know how socials go together and I know how pictures go together and it all worked together. And to finish off our workshops with the Instagram side of things that the people could work on the pictures that they'd taken that day and post something with amazing advice on how to use their Instagram was just the perfect way to complement the workshop. Yeah.
We need to do it again.
We so do.
We do. So do. It's been years.
Yes.
Like I can actually say it's been years since we did our flat lay workshop.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I suppose it's just the fact that we've got to meet so many people, you know, not just here locally in Bendigo, but we've travelled Swan Hill, Mildura, so that Sunraysia
down
region.
Kyneton and Castlemaine and
I've loved it.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm missing at the moment. Obviously Oak's on pause at the moment till everyone gets back in to being able to drive around, and I just can't wait to kick off a road trip with you.
Me too. Might make you stop a couple of times this time though. You won't regret it, I promise.
No, I won't. I know. I think that's what maybe the isolation's taught me, just to stop, slow down, breathe in the air and just take in the moment. So making memories. You obviously helped me out with the print ads.
Yep.
And one that we worked on together was Cloak Boutique.
Yes.
It's a clothing store. Yeah, in Bendigo. We worked on their ad together and it was on International Women's Day.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, International Women's Day 2 years ago, you shot the photos for the ad. And tell me, how is that then developed into another relationship for you?
Well, that relationship with the girls has turned into an amazing we are just about, next time we shoot will be 40 sessions that I have shot with Cloak, with Larissa and Sarah. So absolutely love it. I love working with the models, Hayley and Jacinta. Larissa gets behind the camera at times as well. And it's just a beautiful relationship. We're just very comfortable with each other now. It's a fortnightly basis. And I come, we chat, have a laugh, take photos, and it's awesome.
And those photos have made such a big difference to their business. In that, you know, they're now showcasing their clothes. So they are their Cloak. So when you see that photo, you know it's from Cloak rather than, I suppose, the stock photo.
Yeah, stock images.
That all the stockists have access to. Yep. So, you know, maybe if you're a clothing or a retail brand listening to our podcast, please invest in, you know, a photo shoot, whether it's once a week, you know, once a month or seasonally. It will make such a difference to your business.
Definitely.
Where do they use those photos?
Yeah, the photos go on the website. So we shoot a series of photos so that shows off the garment completely, and that goes on the website. And then we do some fun feature little shots that usually end up on Instagram to entice people in. So they use them for their marketing material, little brochures, pamphlets, advertising in the Oak magazine, all that sorts of stuff. They get quite a bit of use out of their images.
And that's the thing. Then that's what you want as well.
Yeah.
You want to be able to use it. So
Yeah.
And speaking, I suppose, back to that whole getting headshots.
Yes.
And you reminding me before we kick this off that I needed a new one. Look, if there's something that I love, it's when, I get in touch with someone and say, look, could you send me a headshot? And they're like, yep, great. And in comes this professional headshot, and not one where they've been cut out of a wedding photo.
Yes, yeah, I know. Or some relatives taking a quick snap of you on your phone or something, and yeah.
Leading on from that point, why are professional images important for your business?
I strongly believe that. I think that if you take your business seriously, that you should follow through with all the means that you can to get yourself out there on that professional level. So whether that's with your photos, with how you market yourself on your social media, all those things, it should just be really, really professional. I believe that having good photos on your site represents your brand really well, and it's just a great way to value yourself and your business and your services. And therefore, I think it shows a lot of respect to your client and your customers that you value them as highly as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, we do argue about this next point a little bit, but because I'm words, you're pictures.
Yes, yes.
But look, an image will stop people in their scroll.
I believe so. I do believe, but I read a magazine for its pictures. I scroll Insta and all the other social medias for an image. It will stop me, and then I will read the content. So
exactly. So this is where the words come in.
Yeah, they are equally as important, but you've got to get to the stop point first.
Yeah, exactly. You need that photo to stop them, and then the words to hold them.
Yes,
and to drive action.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can have one without the other.
No.
Maybe that's why we work.
Yeah, I strongly agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we complement each other very well.
Exactly, because I cannot take photos for the life of me. And yeah.
You can. I have seen some stuff that you've done. You can. You just got to back yourself. Yeah.
All the tips I get from you.
Yeah. Thanks.
So before I let you go, Michelle, can you tell me about a friend of yours?
Okay, yes. Well, I'd love to tell you about my friend Christiana from Mimosa Botanicals in Castlemaine. She's just the most warm, kind and generous person, and her business is just completely who she is as a person. There's no I'm this here and I'm that there or anything. She just is completely who she represents. Yeah. And her stuff is gorgeous, and she puts so much attention and care and thought into everything that she does. So yeah.
She's a beautiful supporter of Oak. And look, if anyone does want to find out more about Christiana, Michelle, obviously you have a photo shoot on your website.
Yep.
I've got a feature story on the Oak magazine one, or you could find her on social media at Mimosa Botanicals. So thank you again, Michelle, for being a guest on my podcast. I know I said it at the top, but you are really a huge part of the success of Oak. I honestly couldn't do it without you. I love working with you. I cherish our friendship, which is also, outside of the business as well. So thank you again. And let's get back to working on your website.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Bye. Now, before you take off with all that inspiration and knowledge, we'd love for you to leave a review on our podcast so that we can continue to amplify women's voices in the media. And if you have any questions, we'd like to celebrate a win, you can always connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Oak Magazine AU. I'm so glad we've met and that now you know a friend of mine.